Do you ever wonder why you can't get certain notes to speak or sound good whenever you're transitioning from one register to another? Maybe you're playing something in the middle of the staff and you want to go down to a low C or a B flat and you get this sound. Or maybe you want to transition from a low note up to a high note way above the staff and you get a really thin, pinched, unfocused sound. You don't like the way you sound, but you don't know why. There can be multiple things at play here, which I'm going to talk about, but there's one thing you have to learn how to do to be able to transition between different registers on the bassoon, and that's something called voicing. In a nutshell, voicing refers to the shape of the inside of your mouth or your oral cavity. And I'm going to talk more about voicing here in a little bit, what it is, how to get different shapes, how to practice it so that you can achieve what you want in all registers of the bassoon. But there's a couple things we got to talk about first. If you're new here, my name is Dr. Natalie Law. I'm a professional bassoonist and teacher, and I love to help folks like you learn how to play bassoon and feel really successful and confident playing this instrument. So if that's a topic of interest to you, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you find the video helpful, and let me know any questions you have down in the comments. So the first thing we need to talk about before we get to voicing is your equipment. And I know it's kind of like, duh, you need, a functioning bassoon and functioning reed. But let me just talk a bit more about it, because I can't tell you the number of times I have students come to me in lessons and are so frustrated, and only to find that they take their bassoon to a repair shop and it totally fixes their issue. If your bassoon hasn't seen maintenance in the last couple years, there's a high chance that you have a leaking pad or other things that are out of adjustment that will make transitioning between registers, both high and low, really difficult. If you want to learn more about bassoon maintenance, when you should seek out maintenance, where to go, what goes into the process, you should check out this video that I did with Dorian Antipa of Big Sakai Bassoon. He took apart my entire bassoon and talked all about what he did and what it's like to send your bassoon to him as a bassoon repair specialist. The other piece of functioning equipment, obviously, is your reed. More often than not, this tends to be the culprit. And I say this all the time, and I know, if you've watched my other videos, you probably get sick of me saying it. You should always be buying handmade reeds made by a professional bassoonist. And luckily these days there's lots of places online where you can buy directly from real people who are making good bassoon reeds. If you'd like to check out my reeds, I'll put a link down in the video description. You can always add notes to your order to say, I'd like a reed that's better in the low register or the high register, or I struggle with being sharp and I want to try and lower my pitch. The thing with reeds is that it's rare to have a reed that is equally good in the low register as it is in the high register. Most reeds tend to favor one or the other. If you're trying to do big transitions in the low register or playing a lot in low register, but your reed isn't very low register friendly, that's going to create just an extra obstacle. So what I do is when I come across a reed that sounds and plays great in the high register, I set it aside in a part of my reed box, and when I'm playing a lot of first bassoon or high notes, I'm going to pull out one of those reeds. Consequently, when I have a reed that does really well in the low register, it's responding really easily, it's not too sharp, it feels really easy to play without too much effort, I'm going to save that in my more low register reed pile. And when I'm playing a lot of second bassoon or anything that I need really good response in the low register, I'll pull out one of those reeds. Obviously, we're always looking for reeds that can do all sorts of things and are flexible. Of course, a well-rounded reed is great, but it's just nearly impossible to find a reed that does everything equally well. So that's part of the battle. Now, you may even be a step before that and be dealing with response issues in your reeds as well. I have a whole playlist on reed making and adjusting and troubleshooting and how to make your reeds easier to play. So it might just be that your reeds are especially if you get kind of a thuddy, airy sound when you play and you feel like you have to push a lot of air through, I'll throw the playlist up here and you can check that out and see if maybe there's some basic reed adjustments you can make as well. So in addition to having functioning equipment, which surprisingly gets in our way more than I think we like to admit, we also need to have good air support and air speed. A lot of time when I'm working with students and when we're trying to, flip up into the high register, flip down into the low register, making big leaps or transitions, I am asking them to use a lot more air. Almost always. You always need to use probably more air than you initially think you do. And a really quick exercise that you can do to kind of feel and understand the type of air you need to be using is to put your hand in front of your mouth and breathe in on a who shape. With that little exercise, you should feel the air filling the bottom of your lungs, and that way you're using the full lung capacity that you have. You're going to get a better tone and have more control with more capacity in your lungs. So that's the right type of air to use. But then in different registers of the bassoon, you need to use different air speeds. So if air speeds and related air support. So if you're in the upper register of the bassoon, you need to use faster air speed and you need to squeeze your abs a little bit more to provide more support. Consequently, in the low register of the bassoon, you don't need quite as much air pressure and fast air, more space, more openness in the low register, and generally your air is going to feel like it's moving a little bit slower in order to be able to accommodate those low register notes. Air volume, air speed, air support all play into this as well. So now let's get to the main issue that we typically run into when we're transitioning registers. Assuming you have good equipment and you're using your air correctly, there's another component that you need to be able to flip between registers, especially when you're making big leaps, and that's voicing. And again, voicing refers to the shape of your oral cavity. And a really easy way to think about it is to form different vowel shapes. A, E, I, O, U, and different variations of those as well. We can kind of combine vowel shapes and kind of come up with different things, but that's a good place to start. So pick a good note, easy note for you to play, and as you're playing and holding the note, move those vowel shapes, A, E, I, O, U, as you're playing. It should sound something like this. So you can notice as I'm changing the vowel shapes, it changes sort of the pitch a little bit and the tone of the note. And different, like I said, different registers of the bassoon are going to favor different vowel shapes. So the low register generally, somewhere in between O and Ah, so aw is what I tend to think in the low register. And if I'm having trouble with playing it low enough or it's still not responding, going more to that ah side of things. So, but remember with the ah, that's kind of way in the back of your throat. You still want to keep the air moving through. So ah, but lots of air. And then as you ascend into sort of the middle register of the bassoon, right in the middle of the staff, then you're going to generally go to more of an O shape. So if I were to start on the low B flat and chromatically go up to the middle of the staff, I might be starting on A. Sounds really, really goofy when I'm doing it without the bassoon in my face, but that's kind of what it is. It's gradually more of an A to an O or an U. And then as I ascend above, around the top of the staff, the flick notes, and just above that, I'm more in a U shape, which is kind of more forward and more narrow, which makes sense for those particular notes around the top of the staff because those tend to be a little bit flat for most of us. So more of an U. And then as I ascend even into the upper register, say F and above or so, I'm back in more of an O shape. I'm using really high air support to be able to accommodate the O shape. Because if I do the O shape without the air support behind it, the notes just won't come out, or they'll just be really weak and flat. And then the very highest notes in the bassoon register, like the high, like E flat and high E natural, and if you're going above that even, that's when I'm more of an E vowel shape, because that's a very kind of narrow, more pinched shape, but that's what you need for those upper notes to be able to speak and also be in tune, because they tend to be flat. So you need lots of narrow, fast air to get through to those notes. When you're transitioning registers, say you're going from a C in the staff down to a low C or something like that, your C in the staff is going to be more O, and then the low C is going to be more aw. So it's not just O, aw, but you have to transition. Oh, oh, that's what it's going to feel like when you're making a big leap downwards. Consequently, if you're making a big leap upwards above the staff, it's going to be more of an O to ooh, oh, right? So, and if you have a quick transition, say you got to do something in a really fast tempo, middle register to low register, you're going to go from O to ah, but it's going to be really quick. Oh, oh. So experiment with these different vowel shapes to try and get an even sound throughout all registers. And don't forget that your air speed and your air velocity matter as well. Exercise to demonstrate this is to play a low F and then to change your fingering so that you're going to play the high F, but don't change anything in here. And you won't get a sound initially until you start to squeeze your abs and create faster air, and you start to narrow your voicing to more of an ooh. You're more of like an oh down for the low F, and it's more of an ooh shape for the high F. So those are two things that you have to change to be able to make that flip from the low F to the high F. That's an extreme example, but that just shows you the difference it makes to be using different voicing and air speeds. One other thing to keep in mind I just want to mention is when you're having trouble transitioning between registers, there's a couple other things that might be at play and having to do with your fingers. If any of your notes are in combination with a note that uses a half hole, say G at the top of the staff, sometimes the issue is that your half hole is not open enough, or it's not opening quickly enough, or some combination of the two. So that's one thing you want to check for. And if you're thinking this might be your issue, I do have a video on half hole notes in particular, how to do them. There's more nuance typically than we tend to think with them, and there's particular motion we want to look for with half hole notes. The other thing is if you're struggling with transitioning registers and one of the notes involved is one of the flick notes, the top of the staff, A, B flat, B, C, and you're not flicking or venting those notes, that can be part of the issue as well. And if you don't know what flicking or venting is, then I also have a video on flicking and venting that you can check out and learn all about that, what it is, why we use it, how to do it, how to practice it. And then finally, one other fingering thing to consider is if you're having trouble transitioning registers, no matter what it is, always double check your third fingers on your ring fingers in both hands, because typically when you're playing fingerings that involve those fingers, they tend to be the most sluggish out of all of the fingers. And the reason for that is that there's one tendon that connects the pinky and the ring finger, so it's very hard for you to have total independence of your ring fingers. And so what that means on bassoon is that anytime you're transitioning fingerings and they involve the third fingers in either hand, those fingers tend to be a touch slower. Even just a millisecond can throw it off. So say you're transitioning from a C in the staff down to a low G, which isn't a very big leap, but the low G isn't speaking right away. Probably a culprit might be the right ring finger. It might just be a touch slow. And what's happening is you're blowing air through the instrument and it's passing by the tone holes that you use, and the air is escaping out the tone hole before the finger's totally down. Like this happens in a split second, and that can be enough to make the note not speak. The bassoon, assuming that it's in good working order and you have a good reed, is only going to do what you tell it to do. So if it's not making a certain note work, it means that the information you're giving the bassoon with your embouchure, with your voicing, with your airspeed, with your fingers, something's not right. And so it's not listening. And so unfortunately, to play bassoon, you have to be emphatically clear about what you want and super precise with your fingers and your air and all of that. So watch out for your third fingers, because that tends to be a culprit when a note doesn't speak right away. Just make sure they're coming down at the same time. So just to recap all the things that it takes to get smooth transitions between registers, you have to have good equipment, good bassoon, good reeds that are working for you. You have to have the right amount of air and the right air speed for the register that you're playing in. You have to have the right voicing, and that this is where you might need to play around with the voicing for you, and your instrument might change from person to person. And finally, making sure that your fingers aren't getting in your way as well. So these are all things that are really common issues that we deal with whenever we're trying to make big leaps between registers, because ideally we want the bottom of the register from the low B flat to the very highest note you can play, whether that's a high C or a high D or high E or even higher. We want those all to be within the same tone center, within the same realm. We don't want to make it sound like the low end sounds like a bari sax and the high end sounds like an oboe, right? We want it all to sound like a nice, beautiful, continuous bassoon range. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give me a thumbs up. It helps other folks find the channel. And make sure you're subscribed if you aren't already, and let me know any questions down in the comments. I'll see you next time.